Crime and subsequently crime prevention are equally complex and important issues in American society today. Crime prevention refers to the range of strategies that are implemented by individuals, communities, businesses, non-government organizations, and all levels of government in an attempt to target the wide variety of social and environmental factors that have the ability to increase and enlarge the risk of crime, disorder, and victimization in our society. The variety of different approaches taken towards crime prevention seem to differ due to a wide variety of different factors. These factors include the scope of the intervention, the types of services that are delivered, the theory behind how those activities are designed to bring about the intended and desired results, the theory behind how those activities and how those mechanisms are applied for a particular situation. Being able to understand and then implement the appropriate preventative measures are necessary to support a particular intervention approach. The first crime prevention tactic that I believe that has shown to be worthwhile is the practice of predictive policing. This technique has received ultimately its fair share of criticism, but at the same time, when it's applied correctly, I think that it has brought about good results for the communities that it's been implemented in. When predictive policing is being used, law enforcement compiles a significant amount of data, and then it analyzes that data and it tracks certain patterns with the hopes of being able to understand the nature and details of particular problems within a specific community. The officers within that community are then tasked with creating strategies and tactics that are often are supposed to prevent or mitigate future harm associated with those specific problems. Once those tactics are implemented, the results are then evaluated by the task force, and then revisions are often implemented so the results are evaluated, and then when there's issues, the revisions are often enacted when necessary, with the goal of improvising police practices in the future. Some police departments combine a variety of data along with street intelligence and criminal analysis to create effective assessments about what might happen if they take certain actions within a certain community. Predictive policing is supported by computer models and simulations that ultimately strive to anticipate the likelihood of certain crimes and the ability to distinguish the actions deemed appropriate to prevent a crime. Ultimately, this controversial approach is by no means perfect, but I think that it has proven to have the capacity to greatly impact the prevention of criminal behavior. And what it comes down to is our society today is driven by technological advancements, and I believe that it's a responsibility of the people that hold the power in our communities to use technologies to their advantage, and they need to use it in the fight for making our communities and ultimately our country a safer place. The second thing that I've shown or has shown to been successful within keeping communities safe is problem-oriented policing. Problem-oriented policing is an issue in a community is highlighted sometimes with the input from community members, and effective strategies are developed from those problems to combat it. The issues addressed can range from a specific issue to general problems, and when problem-oriented policing was in its earliest days, the research gave birth to one of the most popular and effective models to date, the SARA method. And the SARA method stands for Scanning, Analysis, Response, and Assessment. And this approach relies heavily on the use of on the use of common sense and awareness by police officers, and that's why it's so popular with police departments across the country. Due to the fact that just about anybody can use it. And understanding how and why crimes occur will also be able to make conscious decisions intended to improve problems within the community are vital components of problem-oriented policing and crime prevention in general. The third approach that I think it has proven successful within communities across America is the ability to create positive change through hotspot policing. This approach is rooted in the idea that in many urban cities, a very small collection of places precisely down to a particular street or block are responsible for most of the crime within that city. With this valuable information, police are then able to deploy a specific amount of resources to those specific areas with the intention to eradicate or contain specific problems. Police implement these strategies in a variety of different ways depending on the particular area and details surrounding the situation. They can institute a large police presence in the area by having patrol cars routinely check the area, form relationships with the individuals who live there with the hope of bridging the gap between the community and the police force. And also bringing in community partners and focusing on the community's needs can boost the crime fighting effects further by creating a working relationship. And extensive research that was collected by the National Research Council regarding hotspot policing found that studies showed that hotspot policing can have the most effective impact on communities because they can not only prevent crime, but they can also create relationships that can in the future prevent further crime. And the final prevention practice that I found through my research was community policing. And the definitions and explanation used by law enforcement officials normally vary, and but the focus, and it ultimately comes down to a term called focused deterrence policing. And focused deterrence policing is quite similar to the concept of community policing. Yet there seems to be a much better understanding of the focus method and much better results ultimately. Focused deterrent policing must first determine a specific problem within a community, such as drug dealing, violent behavior, gangs, or gun violence. Once the police department isolate the problem, they must determine the individual or groups who are ultimately responsible for creating those problems within the community. And then individuals in the community who are known to have a gang affiliation and people who have existing criminal records are usually the people who are the focus of the police department's attention when it comes to these particular strategies. And this method is designed to unite law enforcement officials and community groups to properly convey the wide variety of consequences, which are a absolutely direct result of people who engage in criminal behavior. And when you engage in criminal behavior, the results will happen. People within the individual's communities could voice their personal viewpoints on the matters, and through personal discussions, they can convey how it would directly damage or completely destroy his or her family, friends, church, school, or intimate relationships through committing crimes. This approach may appear to be straightforward and may appear to be implemented easily, but it takes attention, cooperation, understanding by a lot of different people on a lot of different fronts. And it might also require the department to completely retrain its officers, retrain the entire workforce, and retrain the logic that they go through when they go through on their day-to-day checks. I think that all of these the components that I discussed can prove to be extremely effective at the end of the day, and I think it's through a combination of both, and through a combination of understanding, education, and ultimately